Special thanks to whatevs for being one of my newest Patreon supporters and helping to keep the channel going. If you want to do the same, you can do so over at patreon.com/TJOmega. Help keep the lights on for as little as $1 a month. So with that, let's review. Speaking of my Patreon campaign, one of my new commitments is to get back to streaming, and the more subs I have over on Patreon, the more streams I do every single month. And this month we got started with a very chill and laid back model kit building stream over on Twitch. So if you didn't get there, if you didn't see it, you can see the construction of the Kotobukiya Mega Man X model kit over in the archives of my YouTube channel. But I figured as long as I did the whole assembly on camera, might as well give it a proper review so you know how the final figure actually turned out. Because, you know, building it from a model only tells you so much. We need to get into the nuts and bolts of what makes up the robot from the year 21XX. So, by Kotobukiya, this is Mega Man X in his full charge edition. I can't even remember that's the name they put on the box, but that's basically what they are going for. And if you'll notice, he is rather bright and shiny and shimmery, a little bit more so than usual. If I play with him a little bit, you might start seeing little glints of purple and brighter blues highlights showing through in the plastic. At the very least, I'm not sure how much is coming up on camera thanks to the viewfinder. It's not the most accurate thing. But yeah, there's a very interesting and very cool looking shimmer effect to the plastic here. That is to replicate the look of Mega Man X when he's got a full buster charge ready to unleash. It's a clever way of getting a repaint out of a base Mega Man model kit without actually going to something obvious like, oh, this is him using a weapon, or this is him with shotgun ice, you know, or something like that, or black repaint, or whatever. That's Zero's thing. So we have something very interesting that actually caught my eye. So, looking him over, he's your nice standard, you know, 5.5 to 6 inch figure, very nicely proportioned. He's going a little bit more toward the more anime-ish art that he goes for, a little bit more toward the PlayStation era as far as Mega Man's design goes. And yeah, you can kind of get that by the massive fists that are about as big as his head. Here's something to point out here. For one, this plastic that I'm so nuts over, that this is so cool, I'm pretty sure this is something that's mixed into the plastic. This isn't a paint effect. This is all solid. Nothing's chipped on it. As you can see, it's just what they did to the plastic. And strangely enough, whatever it is they did to create this effect, the plastic is very slick. I talked about this during the stream where it was hard to hold on to the parts and still trim the excess mold flash off of the figure. It's a little bit precarious, so a little bit of caution is advised when building this particular model kit. If you got the base Mega Man, probably not an issue. But you can tell because like the hands here, yeah, they don't do that. And yes, like I said, not a paint effect. And in fact, nothing on this toy is. If you look around, you see these trims of gray around his wrists, completely plastic. All these little spots going through, plastic. These extra bits on his torso armor, plastic. Crystal, plastic. Little crystals in his ears, plastic. Plastic. It's all plastic. Except for the eyes. The eyes are actually tamper-graphed in place. So they have a nice sharp look to them. They have a very cool, very accurate look. So he does have that, and that's literally all he has going for him as far as paint goes. Everything else, nice and solid, so no worries about chipping or flaking or anything like that. Scratches, don't know. I don't know how this weird plastic is going to handle that. Time will tell. So we should go Articulation. We'll see how this toy holds up. It's all polycapped, by the way, so for the most part, you get what you expect. So the ball joints in the head work fairly well. You get full rotation. You can get a little bit up, a little bit down. You can tilt his head pretty dramatically. That looks like his neck snapped, so maybe not that dramatic. But yeah, you can get a pretty good up angle if you really try for it. Shoulders, you can hear the joints. They are nice and tight. So yeah, you get shoulders, those internal torso ball joints, those work well. The shoulder armor does hinge, so you can get it out of the way if you need to for any particular position. He does have outward motion as well. There's bicep rotation. A lot of these are really tight. That's something else I should mention. So it's a little bit precarious sometimes. You can also twist at the elbow, I believe. Yeah, so you can rotate his arm a few different ways here. And the elbow itself has a really nice bend to it. So you got that going for you. See, and of course, get that back. Really stiff joints here. And of course, you know, the rotation on the wrist is there. Torso, ball jointed, lots of motion. Do the same thing at the waist. So he's got plenty of range. Shows a bit of a belly button there, but, you know, don't do anything extreme and he'll be fine. The hips are a bit of a weird oddity because of the way they are angled. You can get them downward a little bit. There's a hinge inside that holds the hips in their current position. So if you fiddle with it enough, you can start getting like high kick pose out of them, but it doesn't go too far. So the hips are about the only part that's really kind of limited here. Plenty of rotation, that works well. The knee has a ton of bend to it. Absolutely a ton. There's extra hinges in there specifically to allow the knee to go that far. And then you've got a stem and ball joint for the ankles. So his feet, he actually does have quite a bit of range of motion as well as tilts and all that. So your Mega Man X is actually quite poseable. It's a little bit precarious because he's got so many really tight joints to him. But as long as you figure out how to work it, and of course, if you've done models, especially by Kotobukiya, it's probably nothing that you're unfamiliar with. So, you know, you've got some experience here. It's like any other model. Be a little bit careful with it. It's not meant to be an action figure. You know, it's just little rubber caps that are holding all of this together and creating the articulation. So, you know, pick a pose, be happy with it, and just let him be on display. If you want an actual Mega Man X that can articulate and handle some wear and tear, you go find the D-Arts if it's still floating around. Oh, hey, look, it's a D-Arts that's floating around. I thought this would be nice for comparison. You can see for the most part, they both do their own thing. The X here is a little bit darker. They go for a more metallic plastic rather than the shimmery thing here. And the biggest thing is like hands. Hands are much smaller, a little bit shorter on the D-Arts, which is basically figure arts if you aren't paying attention. And then the faces, a little bit different aesthetic going on here. And like I said, you know, they kind of harken back to different levels of artwork. Whereas this I feel like gets some of the more notes of the earlier games. I feel like this one starts getting into the aesthetic of the later ones, at least as far as the face sculpt goes. So I just thought that comparison would be helpful for a few people who might be on the fence if they already have the D-Arts and aren't sure if they actually want to go for full bore as far as the new X goes. So for hands, we do have additional ones that you get to build. So you get big splayed open hands like so. And you also get these kind of grippy hands. So you have a little bit of range as far as exactly how you want him posed. And then, of course, you can swap one of his arms for the Buster. So let's go ahead. I might as well just show that off. In order to do that, you need to bend the elbow as much as you can, because otherwise you'll probably just pull him off at the wrong joint. And now we can slide the Buster into place. Little tiny polycap inside, right there. Find the peg, find the cap, and slide together. Just like that, we have a Buster. He's typically a lefty in the game since you're running to the right, so that works well enough. And swapping the hands is just as simple. You know, it's a ball. Well, actually, no, that wasn't supposed to happen. The polycap isn't supposed to come off. There we go. And we'll go ahead and add in one of his wide open hands so we can have him hopefully hold the Buster the way it's meant to be held. Well, we get some semblance of it. I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to get it exactly right, but he is capable of that kind of pose. So, when we have him holding his buster like this, we need something else, don't we? Well, for starters, he's looking a little calm. Luckily, we can fix that. He does come with alternate faces. He has this kind of screaming face, and then it's just kind of, I'm kind of annoyed kind of face. It's a little bit strange, but one's looking to the left, one's looking to the right, which is a little bit odd. But to do this, you lift the face up from the chin, yank that downward, and we'll go ahead and put the screaming face in. When it's separate, it looks a little bit weird, but once it's in place and the ridge of the helmet takes over, now the expression looks a little bit correct. So, he is screaming, he is holding his buster, but we still are missing something to actually give the visual what it needs. Behold, effect parts that you also build yourself. So, since this is the full charge effect version, of course he comes with a full buster charge. He doesn't stop shimmering once he shoots it, but hey, you know, they can't do everything. And the blast effect itself is actually pretty cool. I actually really like it. It's a nice little translucent teal thing with a lot of really sharp waves. And I do mean sharp. These would probably not go over well with US safety inspectors. And then, of course, on top, the big flowing blast with a little bit of purple, or actually a little bit of pink ring around there. So I really like the look of this. And then this gets a little bit interesting because this part is not technically connected together. It is just tabbed into place, which means splitting it open, very simple. That means you can remove this, add this little extra connector piece, which goes right there. And then when we connect it back together, it gives Mega Man X. I keep calling him Mega Man X. It's just X. Mega Man X is the name of the game. Connect them out both together, and you get his dash effect. This is to hold on to one of Kotobukiya's display arms, so you can have him posed actually doing one of his dash effects. That's really cool. I love getting multiple uses out of those effect parts. In fact, the instructions actually let you know you can use them individually too, so you get a little bit of play there. You know, I tend to prefer it with the blast effect, just because I think it looks cool altogether. I think it creates a really cool big burst effect. The one thing I do kind of criticize is the fact that the stem holding the blast up is also translucent blue. It kind of looks awkward compared to everything else that's flowing backwards to have this thing just jutting up. You know, completely clear would have been preferable to try and get it as clean looking as possible. But hey, we can't have everything we want. Unless everything you want is a really nice Mega Man X model kit with a really cool color effect to his plastic. So that is Mega Man X as done by Kotobukiya in the full charge variant of the model kit. It's a fun build, nothing too complicated about it. If you're new to model kits, it's not terribly intimidating. It's a nice, easy build. We did it in about 3 hours on stream, and that's with me distracted with the chat room. So you can probably knock this out in about 2.5 hours if your experience with model kits, probably faster than that if you're, you know, a hobbyist or something. So, yeah, if you need a little bit of Mega Man X in your life, you could definitely do worse. Like this one has a lot of cool things going for him.